চিৎজ্ঞানী নাহ न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च भूमि भौमो न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसङ्को न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोशा न वा पाणिपादौ न च वास्तवायु चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभो मोहो वादनैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न च अर्थो न कामो न मोक्षो चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सुखं न दुःखं न मन्त्र न तीर्थ न वेद न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोजं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्यु न शङ्का न मे जाति वेद पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धु न मित्रं गुरु नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं अहं निर्विकारो निराकाररूपं याच सर्वत्र सर्वैन्द्रियाणाम् न च संगतं नैव मुक्तिनमेय चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवो शिवो शिवो
Now we'll do the Vedic chanting. এখন আমরা বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করব, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করুন। ওম বাগ্মে মনসি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা মনঃ মে বাচি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা
ॐ वाक्मे मनोति प्रतिष्ठितं मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आभिः मेधि
वेदस्यामानिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिहा
वेदस्य मानिसः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिह
अनेनोदितेन अहोरात्राहं संदधामि
अनेनो दधामि
वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
तद्माङ्गवतु तवक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्
शांति शांति शांति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणः चक्षुः
ॐ आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः
माथः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
श्रोत्रमातः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्
अहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्म निराकरोत्
निरकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्म निराकरोत्
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणमेऽस्तु
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणमस्तु
ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
मोयि सन्तु ते मोयि सन्तु
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमादः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सनो भवतु सनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु
वीर्यं करवावहै
सह वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो अधितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
शां मित्रः शां वरुणः शां नो भवति अर्यो
ॐ शं नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शं न भवति अर्युमः
शां नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शां नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं न विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः ते वायु
नमो ब्रह्मणे महदेवायु
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रामवतु तद्वक्तारामवतु
तत्माङवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्ताराम्
अवतु माम् अवक्तारम्
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणां देवा
ॐ
ॐ भद्रगणेभिः शृण्वां देवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षवीययोत्रः
भद्रं
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्ययुः
ैयाङ्गैतुष्टवांशतनूभिः
स्थिरैर्यङ्गैस्तुष्वाङ्गतनूभिः
श्रीमदवहीतं यतायु
पश्येम
वशेमदेवहीतं यायु
Jatayu.
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
আমরা আমাদের আলোচনায় প্রবেশ করছি। We are starting our discussion. আজকের আলোচনার পর্ব ব্রহ্ম উপলব্ধি 934তম পর্ব। Today's session is on Brahma Upalabdhi 934th session. Today is 2024 from July 7th, Sunday. আজকের আলোচনাটি এই 223তম ডিজিটাল আলোচনা 223rd digital Sunday mode. Actually, today I'm speaking from Chicago, a hotel Hyatt Regency located in Chicago. The topic for the day is Vedas and civilization. বেদ ও মানব সভ্যতা। আজকের আলোচনার প্রসঙ্গ বেদ ও মানব সভ্যতা। Now the point is, what is a civilization? And there are a lot of activities and a lot of writings on civilization. The major authors of civilization are actually one individual and a group. The individual is a famous author from London, Bronowski, and the group is a team comprised of Arnold Toynbee, and team was it's a global team, international team. The team had other members, those who are leading in the world. Ramesh Chandra Majumdar from Kolkata, India. Pitrim Shorokin from Russia. Yes, at that time it was Soviet Union, meaning Union of Soviet Social Republic, and Pitrim Shorokin, he's from there, from Moscow, and Ikeda from Japan. So it was a global team which actually came up with a study of human civilization. But most penetrating study was actually done by Bronowski. Bronowski is a sociologist and a philosopher, author and a professor. He came up with a finding. He wrote the facts about civilization and then finally came up with a finding as a kind of comment. And some of his comments were very much highlighted by British poet T.S. Eliot. And also it was profusely mentioned, quoted, and referred to by Albert Einstein while he was having a discussion with Ikeda. So these are the facts about the international studies about civilization. From India, the study of civilization that we, with this topic, with this subject as a focus, nobody has done. However, there are a lot of works done from India which have actually contributed to the history of civilization or the patterns of civilization. Major work of this is actually contributed by Sri Aurobindo in his Human Cycle. He has not written the history, but he has highlighted the very basic spirit of human emergence. That's very important in this study of human civilization. Now, what is a civilization? The definition, which is common to both the streams of thoughts, is civilization is an act of certain values. So they have identified certain values. Barton Russell, when he was actually uh, focusing on a singer. Russell had focused on a singer, a German singer, a poet come singer. The singer had highlighted, certain values, of which Barton highlighted three values. He said one is, the first value that he highlighted was a value of tolerance. The value of tolerance. And then Russell had explained, taking cues from Bronowski and from the other sources, also from his own thoughts. It was actually Russell's own thought contributed to that also. It was actually, for each source has taken from the other source like this. And Russell was telling, like, the civilization all started with the beginning of agriculture. Agriculture made the civilization, gave the civilization a start. And he had explained why agriculture. Now, the value of tolerance. The value of tolerance was there. That's why, he was given a Nobel Prize on this study of a singer who was a German singer who was actually not that much known, but was very popular in the rural areas. And he highlighted three values. One is the value of tolerance. The other one, second, is value of endurance, and the third one is the value of focusing forward. So three things here identified: value of tolerance, value of endurance, and value of focusing forward. Meaning, you tolerate, you continue, sustain, and you stay, and you move forward. Based on these three values, and there were a lot of rural songs spread out throughout Germany, and it was very popular in Switzerland, some part of Danish Denmark, some part of Western Europe, other countries in the Western Europe, and it was very popular. So Russell came up with the finding that civilization had coined up these three values, this tolerance, endurance, and looking at the future. All these three were there in the agriculture. How? Because when you were a hunter, you have an arm, you can go to the jungle, the forest, and you can do hunting. You can kill and kill an animal and make your food out of that. So hunter is an immediate. So you collect your food immediately. You don't have to wait. But again, the soil was suddenly found producing something. So human understanding that soil is producing, so we can make it, better suitable for our requirements. Then gradually the idea of agriculture had emerged, and the idea of agriculture says that you have to wait. If you plow the land will not give anything. You do the plowing of the land, then apply seed in the land. So seed is what makes it grow, makes it give rise to a life. So whatever seed you give, the life is like that. You give a seed of paddy, you get a paddy. You get a seed of other things, you get other things. So only making the soil ready is not enough. You have to have the appropriate seed for that soil to grow and make it into a good life and contribute something. So therefore, you have to wait. So you have to do hard work. You have to wait. You have to nurture. You have to sustain. You have to have the endurance. And then a time comes when the harvesting occurs. So at the time of harvesting, you get your benefit out of it. But meanwhile, you have waited a long. Not only that you have waited, you have given a long for a long period of time your input energies to that, and therefore you have followed what you had to tolerate a lot of onslaughts of, maybe the onslaughts of nature, for example, droughts, heavy rain, absence of rain, meaning, and then insects, all these things. So you have to protect your, output from all those things. So you have to tolerate. You have to tolerate and protect. And you have to wait. Endurance has to be there. You have to wait. You can't immediately expect the return. So you wait. And then what? Then you look at the future. Why? Because when you get the harvest, you don't exhaust the harvest the same day. So what do? You have the harvest in your place and continue having that harvest absorbed. You consume that and continue consuming that. And so then once you complete consuming, then you get your, fruits properly enjoyed by you. But then again, you cannot exhaust everything. You have to wait. Meaning you have to create the facilities for the next round. So you have to keep some amount of this seed aside, and which would be acting as the seed for the next round of the agricultural growth. So therefore you have to have a look at the future. So your tolerance, your endurance, and your forward looking, or looking at the future, or the projections about future. These three were identified as the qualities of civilization. Now, let us look at India's view about it. What did India's, or meaning, what was the God's endowment to India? I was actually thinking about it, and then I thought that okay, I'll write it in a Sanskrit term, and that's what it is like this. So that's what I've written like this. Brahma eva idam sarvyam ishaho raja rajeshwaram. Ananta etat prakasham vishyam aprakasham anantam chaha. Tateva purnaha tateva sat tateva chit anandamayam bhagavata bhava sampriktam. Evam tat prakasham jagannamayam aprakasham api anantam. Tatvam sve mahimni kartaram etat sarvyam. Sachidanandam Brahman Sanatanam. So this is what is the summary, synopsis, or a synoptic view about the descriptions the Vedas have given about the supreme Brahman. Brahman supreme is what, and why the concept of Brahman supreme? Now, when the study of civilization was done by all those sources that I have already mentioned, the study of civilization has is actually been considered as something which is a human creation only, and there is no background in that. So it is human understanding gradually developed over a period of time, on the scale of time, and the scale of time could instill in them some idea about the formation of life, pattern of living in life, and pattern of having coexistence or non-coexistence, and then leading to the terminal end of things. Any vegetation that you have, vegetation has a terminal end. For example, you do the plowing. It has been explained by Russell very well that you do the plowing, and then you do the seeding, and you do the harvesting, and so when you harvest, that plant life is lost. So you have to cut that. You have to take it away from the soil. So that means the soil loses that life. So one phase of the life is gone. Now the first phase of the life is gone. Though it gives birth to something, it produces something which is going to be sustaining for other lives. For example, when it's paddy, the paddy is there, which is actually sustaining for those who are rice eaters in the world, or other items, other outputs. They are. It's actually feeding them and maintaining or sustaining those lives. So, the paddy has lost his life. So it is sacrificed. The paddy you have to cut, you have to sacrifice that. So soil doesn't, have the power to allow it to continue in perpetuity. It cannot live perpetual. And even if it lives perpetual, it's made to live perpetual. Its yielding is also going to be, seasonal. That means you have to take the yielding out, the output, meaning what paddy you get, you have to take that out and that consume that, or else you have to destroy that. You have to consume that. Like, there are a lot of examples of destruction of food materials, like in the world. It was actually happened in India, with India, by Britishers. Yes, I'm speaking in a context which is the context of the world, and it is to be blamed. The Britishers to be blamed. That was the first incident in the world history when a huge material of food stock was destroyed in the mid sea by the Britishers. And actually, when during the early period of Second World War, and when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was there in the Southeast Asia and had formed the Azad government, or the government in exile for India, and was preparing a war for war against the Britishers to make India free from the hold of the Britishers. And at that time, the Britishers were very, very oppressive to Indian masses. And except for the Maharajas, Jamindars, meaning the moneylenders, the lords, the kings, the local kings, the local, rich people, except for those people, the entire country was made to starve. And the starvation was almost a kind of general national phenomenon for not a single day, but for 4 or 5 years. And the poor people had a huge troubled time in getting a small square meal for the day, and a lot of dates, thousands of dates were recorded by the then Indian newspapers, except Statesman. The Statesman was the only newspaper in English which it did not, mention anything about it. But there were a lot of other papers of Indian origin. They have given a detailed document and account for that. There were a lot of, deaths for that. Why? Because food was not there. So Subhash Chandra Bose had arranged food. He had arranged three shipful of shipment of large, very large, rice and other, other materials, support materials, huge quantity, and had sent a request to British government to allow the food materials to be landed in the, and it was offered free, no charges. He got it collected from the entire Southeast Asia, and of course some contributions came from Europe, like Germany, France. Many people from those places, they had responded to his call. And so there's a huge quantity of food was transported, but British government did not allow it to come because it thought that the moment the food comes, the name of Subhash Chandra will come along, and if it comes, then he will become very popular. And if he becomes very popular, then that's a danger for British government. So let's do one thing. Let's sink the ships. So all these ships were sunk. Two ships were sunk in the Bay of Bengal. It was almost approaching the coast, and the largest one, was sunk in the Indian Ocean. And so that is a kind of tragedy that human society had witnessed, the food being destroyed by human society, and preventing the human being from consuming those food. But normally it doesn't happen. And now UNESCO and international organizations make it, make it sure that it doesn't happen. For example, in the places where war is going on right now in the world, like in Gaza, like in, Ukraine, everywhere the food support is accepted by both the parties. So that apart, so what you do is you have to, in agriculture, you have to kill a life to maintain a life. So see the structure of this creation. What is the actual structure of this creation? The structure of this creation is like this. There's Annaha Brahman, meaning the food itself is vital to the life. But food is something which is actually derived from some kind of living material. Any kind of food that you have, for example, those who think that I am a vegetarian, so I'm not killing lives, they are all fool or they are all misleading people. Like, everybody is killing. Like if you are eating something, anything that you eat, any material, any item, that is out of deprivation of something else, or out of demise of something else, or out of direct killing of something else. For example, you're eating fish, meaning you're killing fish and you're eating. For example, you are eating potato, meaning you are digging it up. Potato could have a potential to grow 20 potato plants if it were planted in the soil, and but then you are killing those potentials and you're eating that. So this is a cycle which has been maintained. Sherwin has mentioned in his human cycle one thing, that is, it's the transfer, it's the transmittance of the consciousness from one particular level of it to the other. Sometimes it is transmitted to a superior consciousness. At times it is transmitted to an inferior consciousness. For example, a person enters the forest unaided, and a tiger comes and kills the person and eats the person. So meaning what? It's the consciousness is now transferred to from human level to the animal level. So with the food, the consciousness gets transmitted. The kind of food that you take, the food always carries with it some enigma, some kind of reference from the previous state. So that reference is also actually going to act as somewhat, projecting force in you. For example, when a person becomes ill and is there in the hospital and post-operative or some kind of, the kind of dietary charts are mentioned. Why? Because it fits in the requirements. Requirements are considered in elemental. For example, some kind of minerals, vitamins, protein, and cereals, like carbohydrates, like this. So energy you have to draw from different sources. The moment you draw a single bit of energy, you are actually doing that at the cost. You are, say, for example, you are, taking milk, cow milk. So cow milk you are taking only through deprivation of the calf. If you are not depriving the calf, you can't get the cow milk. Cow produces milk in its body to sustain its own child, its calf. But if you have to get the cow milk for human being, you have to deprive that calf. So everywhere the system is like this. A system is equated like this. So when we consider this, that the Indian view, the Vedic view is like, it is a universal consciousness, and in this universal consciousness, it is all created by Brahman, the supreme. He is supreme truth. He is Sat. He is Chit. He is Anandamaya. So what I thought that it should be presented this way: Brahma eva idam sarvyam ishaha raja rajeshwaram. he is present. The Brahman is present in everything, meaning he is present everything everywhere. And this is supported by the Rigvedic observation by says Vashishta and Angira. They have actually given a teaching to their children, meaning their disciples. There was a separate hermitage of Vashishta, separate teaching school of Angira. But then Vashishta, Angira, and Bhrigu, these three senior sages, they decided that they will, deliver to the, to the world in a new way. Just to have a, the small kind of understanding. The sages also, like it was developed in the medieval period and in the modern period also, the kings used to have friendship with the kings through relations, meaning one king's daughter marries the other king's son. Like this they have a friendship, and so they maintain a kind of non conflicting status or kind of cooperative status. The sages thought that they will create a large base of kind of community which would be continuing for a longer period. So this is a longer period. The minimum period of living was 105 years, and the maximum was thousands. And this day to day, it appears and it comes to us like it's impossible. Yes, it is impossible in the modern context because of the kind of life that we are living, but it is never impossible in a context which was there in ancient period during the Vedic period, Vedic civilization. It was possible to live much longer in hundreds of years, and most of the sages had lived that. Vasishta was known as a person of his fathering 100 sons, because when Vishwamitra had attacked Vasishta's place, he had killed all Shataputra, meaning 100 sons of Vasishta were killed. Actually, these 100 was his very close disciples. Vasishta had a large, school of teaching, and there the disciples all became very great sages afterwards. The sages of some Vedas, Yajur particularly Krishna and mostly Krishna Yajur and some in the Shukla Yajur and Atharva Vedas. They have all, almost of them have come out of Vasishta school or some way connected with Vasishta and Angira school. So Vasishta and Angira thought that they will combine and do a combined school of thoughts and transfer it to the next, so that people live on the wisdom. So you live a life, but you identify what is your purpose of life. The Vasishta had only three daughters, no son. Those sons, as described, they are all disciples of Vasishta, but they were more dear. They were very close. They were actually close to heart of Vasishta. And Vishwamitra had killed all of them, and all of them were, regained to life. That's a different story. Parakshi, Paranchi, and Apala. These three were the daughters of Vasishta. Parakshi, Paranchi, and Apala. This is very important in the Vedic history. Actually, Sir Max Muller has mentioned only about Vasishta's daughter and has not gone into the details of that because it's difficult for him to get into the details. It is there in the Rig Vedas mentioned, but not in a one place. You have to collect it. So it is mentioned, for example, I got one from the Rig Vedas, Mandala 1, got one from Atri's Mandala 5, got one from the 10th mandala, which is comprised of almost 100 sages, meaning 10th mandala is the largest one. 10th mandala. Parakshi, Paranchi, Apala. Parakshi was meant to marry Shvetaketu. Parakshi's husband was Shvetaketu. Parakshi was very strong in Pragya. she became a very leading, sage of Pragya, meaning the wisdom. Parakshi was actually considered as a person of wisdom, and the wisdom was such that her disciples were all Rigvedics, and each of them had composed some of the verses which are there in the Rigvedas. For example, the first Agni Stotra or Agni Sutra, or the verses on the Agni, the fire, was composed by Madhuchanda, a very young sage, and Vasishtha and others helped him to come up with this. There were initial verses, Agni Mile Purohitam. These were, Madhuchandas. But Parakshi wrote about Agni at a later period, which is there in the Mandala 1 and Mandala 5 we describe, wherein she has mentioned that Agni as something which is always there in her power of mind and power of thoughts. So the Agni as a power, as a energy, as a power, it's actually described by Parakshi, and she is taken from the Surya Deva, meaning from Aditya. So that Aditya is there in life in the form of fire, and the fire of desire, fire of wish, is something which can make this strength of fire, of wish, and fire of determination is actually first contributed by Parakshi. That's there in the Rig Vedas. The details can come in the literature, which I'm actually contributing. And then Paranchi. Paranchi had a thought about the kinghood. So Paranchi was married to Ajatashatru. He is actually, again, we know that Janaka is actually Rajarshi. Rajarshi is Raja and Rishi together. So Raja and Rishi both are combined in a personality is a Rajarshi. Raja is a king, Rishi is a sage, meaning a king who is like a sage, or a Rishi or a sage who is actually having that wisdom of the sage on one hand, and as a king can rule and guide a kingdom selflessly, and on the other, and make it great, and help everybody in the kingdom in the act of their growing forward, coming up. So that was Ajatashatru was another like Janaka, or even Ajatashatru was more intense in that, in the knowledge, in the wisdom, than Janaka in certain areas. However, Janaka was really great. Ajatashatru was also really great. Ajatashatru has been quoted profusely in the Yajurvedas, and Janaka has been quoted profusely in also the other Yajurvedas. Ajatashatru is quoted in the Krishna Yajurvedas profusely, and Janaka has been quoted in the Shukla Yajurvedas profusely. Janaka became friend of Jagavalka. Jagavalka is the main author of Shukla Yajurveda. He came up, Jangobalko, as a young person, he came up with the smallest Upanishad called Ishaha Upanishad. Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvyam Yatkim Cha Jagatyang Jagat Teno Tektena Vunjita Mahagrida Kasha Siddhanam. Meaning, all these you find the wealth everywhere, wealth of human potential, the wealth of the nature, the wealth of the atmosphere, the wealth of the cosmos, the entire cosmic system, everything, all wealth, Isha Vashyam, Idam Sarvam. Whatever is there, everything is an endowment of God. Yatkim cha jagatyang jagat. Whatever is there in this universe, or whatever is not there. Now, then when I thought that, okay, I'll compose, so then I thought that, okay, so prakasham and aprakasham, how much we know, how much we can know. Prakasham is how much? It's very small. Aprakasham is vast, even much larger than that. So, ananta etat prakasham vishyam aprakasham anantancha. Whatever has been expressed by God, whatever has been made to be, be visible to you and me, it's also infinite. Meaning nobody has got the entire visibility of the world, this small Earth system, but nobody has got the entire visibility. You cannot have. Even a small region, one cannot have the entire details, with a personal first-hand understanding. So you really depend on other sources. If you combine all, then you get fairly good idea. Even then, you don't get all. So this Ananta, it is also Ananta, infinite. But whatever is left behind is again infinite. What we don't know is infinite. For example, during the 80s of last century, two scientists were struggling. For example, Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose, they were struggling. Why? Because Stephen Hawking came up with the concept of black hole. Roger Penrose also had joined him and supported both published papers, initially strongly ridiculed and then gradually slightly accepted, slightly ridiculed, partially accepted, partially ridiculed. But NASA was not accepting. So if NASA is not accepting, then you don't have a final acceptance in the scientific community in the world. So therefore, for Hawking's, even though his contributions were really profuse, immense, vast, magnanimous, even then he was ignored by the Nobel Committee. Why? Because NASA has not accepted. Why is not accepted? Because NASA thinks it's not correct, is not the truth. What is not the truth? Black hole, antimatter. These are not truth. But gradually they came to an understanding, yes, this is truth. Not only that, the entire creation, the entire universe, the size of the entire universe is minuscule compared to the size of this black hole. The potent of this entire universe is minuscule compared to the potent of this black hole. The power of this antimatter is equal to the power of the entire material content of the universe. Even the largest star, if it comes in touch with, comes in touch or closer to a black hole, will be immediately absorbed. And that's why the scientists have now accepted that, oh yes, it has to be accepted. Now they become dwarf. When the stars exhaust their energy, giving away their energy, they become energyless. When they become energyless, then gradually they are sucked by the system. And when they are in a position to, they are not in a position to resist. They don't have any energy content. So black hole, pulls it and it is absorbed by the black hole, eats it away, digests it. So you see, the scientific truth is periodical understanding of what is revealed in the universe. The sages did never claim that I know all the material contents because that's not needed. The sages had a view that yes, you need to have an understanding of the basic spirit of this universe. What is the basic spirit of this universe? The sage, as I mentioned, Vasishtha and Angiras, they came to a final conclusive point. What are those? Ayam me hastamang bhagavanaha. This hand of mine is that of Lord the Supreme. Ayam me hastyamaha bhagavanaha. My hand, this hand of mine, this hand of yours, is the hand of the Lord. There is the hand of Lord, Bhagavan. Ayam me Bhagavat Taram. This form is mine, this form, the human form, that you and me. This is what? This form of mine is that of Supreme. Yataho vai imani bhutani jayante yeno jatani jivanti tat prana pravishanti tad Brahman. Meaning this body, that other bodies, everybody, every person is what? Is a contribution of the Brahman. How was it contributed? In the form of a vacuum, void. It was contributed in the void. No structure, no identification. The Atman, Paramatman, created the wish to become Atman and wish to form a, understand the, growth of life, how does it occur. So it is the wish of God which was the causative factor. There should have been some causative factor. The scientific community is, so-called scientific community of the world, is yet to come up with the basic fundamental cause of this universe. Our sages in the Vedas, they have a clear understanding. We don't have any control. It is God. Who has the control? It is God who has created. It is God whose wish has created this universe. It's the divine wish which has gone into creation of this universe. And how has this wish played across? He's not only given a wish or hand from his own, rather, all the lives are the outputs or culminations of some kind of wish at some level. So, wish creates the flower, which creates the seeds, which creates the plantations, which creates the human form, the animals, the trees, the herbs, the shrubs, the flies, the birds, the those lives living beneath the water, lives which are there in the super sky, and anything. There is a wish in the back of it. The fundamental wish, the very basic fundamental wish was there in the wish of the Supreme. Supreme had desired, and therefore it said, Ayam me Vishwa Bheshaja Niramayam. The moment there is a creation, you need to have a correction of the creation. The creation needs to be maintained, preserved. So therefore, this wheel of mine offers the healing remedy for the nature, for the world. You are doing for the part of the world. Because of that, you are doing for the world. What are you doing? You are doing a niramaya, meaning healing touch. Healing touch for what? You're maintaining a life in tranquility for a moment. You're giving a healing touch to the world. So you are actually contributing to that, to the desire, to the wish of Brahman. And then it finally comes to a conclusion. I am Shivaha, Abhimarshanaha. Meaning this form is that of the Shiva, the Supreme. The form that anybody is having, the form is that of Lord Shiva, the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has created the divine forms, the gods of different identities. And then the human being, human society, the other creations, everything is done. So there is a wish in the back of it. What is that fundamental wish? That is Chaitanya. That is consciousness. He is Chaitanyamayam. So he has infused consciousness into the lives. Each life has a consciousness. Each life has a vibration. There are certain studies in agricultural field in the world. Some of the studies are done in United States and published. I have given the reference in my previous, writings, and two references are there in the new book that's coming up from Dakshineshwar. Will be published on the day previous to the Guru Purnima day from Dakshineshwar temple. This title of the book, it's in Bengali, of course. The title of the book is, this is that was a series, meaning it was a series published in the journal, bi-monthly journal, Matri Shakti, Vedas Nan, meaning getting drenched in the thoughts of Vedas. So Vedas Nan, that's in Bengali. There I've given two references to detailed works and references where the response level of the trees, apart from what Jagadish Chandra Bose did in a very small way that long back, and finally with the intervention of Sister Nivedita, he was accepted in the French this scientific forum, and that was a global scientific forum, finally accepted. But now it is the elaborate study, and the elaborate study proves that each life has got its own, functions where the life understands its own senses, its own growth, its own community. Meaning the community of trees, they have a mutual understanding. Community of a tree and a harp and sharp, they also have a mutual understanding. And so how this understanding is developed, what are the kind of things that in this understanding, the very basic point is, they have a vibration, and they connect through the vibrations of each other, and the vibration are understood by those categories only, not by others. However, certain instruments try to, record and try to understand the contents of those vibrations, and some partly, a small part of it has been identified by them, and they, presented in publications that has. I have given a reference. This is very recent, after 2010, between 2010 and 2020. These are the studies in the world. So the point is, the lives have got a kind of lives want to mention something, want to see something. What is that? How was the sequence? The Vedic sequence was what? Vedic sequence was, there are sages, they live normal life, they live life like a person in the society. They're all married. They do work. They don't sit idle and just do meditation. They don't do that. They have never done that. And those are the concepts in the modern world, that modern world monks do that. They are secluded from the society. They form their own house and their own colors, their own, saffron color or whatever color, and different monasteries have got different colors, and they think their house is a superior house, meaning there's a house of temple, and there is a, image of god of their choice, and they worship that way. And they develop a concept, and thousands, lakhs of millions of people do gather, and there are a lot of, structural, designs, a lot of, depictions. When this Christian monastery, these Catholic Christian monastery had emerged, then the first, it was there in the French Parliament proposal that, the monasteries do need a support. So French Parliament gave an award that, some annual donation from the state would be given to the monasteries. And then it had actually created a kind of force in entire Europe. Italy was the beginning, and then in a bigger way, France, then Germany, then England, and each country then came up with a monastery, is a kind of contribution for the monastery. So the monasteries had received tax money, meaning the money the government is having is not money earned by doing business, is by, mostly by way of taxation and by way of getting a share of public or people's, activities, result of people's activities. So that was contributed to the monastery to the extent of even United States and North American countries, African countries, some of the African countries, some of the South American countries, some of the Asian countries. Asian countries did not have the public donation from the government exchequer, but again, they had a sporadic donations. Now you will find many of the Asian countries or the provinces within countries, they are indirectly, directly feeding some other, small political group, meaning religious groups, to support the political cause. That was there also in the medieval period. The monasteries were supported, and monastery used to support the king also in return. So now, that becomes so. Meaning what? Meaning the concept of living a godly life, the concept of living a divine life, the concept of living a life with God in mind and God in your, God as the main focus of your life was there in our Vedic civilization. The Vedic civilization was structured across like a society is there. People are there. They're living in a society. They're doing the normal activity. Each person had to do the work. The ladies, the gents, even the children were also, joined were allowed to join in the race of this game. It is not now that in the Western society we find that a child of 3 years old is made to be independent. It was there in our Vedic civilization. A child from its early age, for example, says Narada. Narada was only, for 6 years. When Narada came out of his house, meaning her cottage, it was only 6 years. Narada and his mother, they were living. And one day, all of a sudden, and Narada was getting, developed in mind, trained in mind by his mother. And suddenly, his mother got a, snake bite and died immediately. And prior to her living life, she advised that you don't have to be worried. You have your maternal uncle, Mama. So you go and ask, and anything that you ask, he will give you. So he had developed this as a faith in life, and that faith he continued throughout. So this 6 years boy, and he continued in life, and he started journey in the jungle, and then took into hand, given a care by somebody, and then like this he was nurtured by the nature, by some invisible person, invisible force. His faith could make it happen, and a strong faith could make it happen. So that's a very young child, he could come out with this. For example, if you look at the Madhuchanda, Madhuchanda, when he came off with this, Agni Sutra, meaning the Vasa of Agni, that's the first and beginning of the Vedas. So the first verse of Vedas is Agni Mile Purohitam Janyasya Devasya Hotaram Ratna Dhatamam. This is actually created by a 10-year-old boy, Madhuchanda. And his journey started at 6 years. So you see the concept that Western society do boast of, like, we make our children independent, and it's fairly true. They make their children independent, but they make their children independent in their own way, in their own pattern. In our Vedic civilization, the children had to stand up and become independent and do a learner. For example, Satyakam. Satyakam was at the age of almost 10, not properly 10. Then had approached his mother that I want to learn, and to learn from Guru. Who is the Guru? Then the greatest Guru of his time in his region was Gautama, and his name was very famous, so he wanted to learn. So Satyakama's mother, Jabala, she said that okay, you go. Certain problems were there, but still, finally, Satyakama could win the school admission in the school, and Sage Gautama gave him an assignment. Say, a 10-year-old boy. This I have mentioned so many times. I mentioned in various places in the forum in the world, in many places, that Satyakam is an example of human society, whom this his master, the Gautama, has been blamed as the most cruel teacher in the world by one of the most leading scholar of the world. And he has mentioned, yes, it's very cruel because a master, a teacher, gets a 10-year-old boy as a student, and the student is given an assignment that you go to the jungle, take this 250 eel cows along, and come back only when you complete the rest as 1000. All of them are cured, and only then you come back. There should be milching cows in that, and then only you come back, and before that you can't come. It's kind of assignment. See, this is a kind of assignment based learning. It is known as a self learning, swadhyay. The sages had said that you need to have two things, swadhyay and adhyas. Swadhyay is your self study, self learning. Self learning is based on a stimulation. Satakam came to the forest, and when he had returned after almost 2 decades, then his master was amazed seeing his face. And the master was thinking that, what has gone wrong? Meaning, this boy He was a frail boy. He was sent to the jungle and is coming back with 1,000 cows, all in good health, and is showing so much, illustrious and so much, fabulous in his look, and there's a huge aura in his background. That, how come? Meaning he knew, but then he thought that he will ask. He asked Satyakam, then did you take the lesson learning from some other guru, some other teacher, some other master? Satyakumar said, no, sir, you are my only master. I got all the learnings from you. You arranged everything. So he had this firm faith, which indeed is true. The grace, the power of grace of his master made everything happen and possible. So this is a kind of faith-driven system. The civilization of Vedas was a faith-driven. You don't have a faith. And what are the components of faith? Now, one day, Satyakam, when was approached by one of the senior cows that we have grown into 1,000 in number, so we have fulfilled the condition of our teacher and your teacher, and then we can go. Then he had a conversation with the cow because he, by virtue of his being in the jungle, he knew the language of all animals, language of trees, language of air, language of this bajra, meaning this lightning, the language of flowing water. Each one has a language. Those who are doing linguistic studies, they must have some idea about how did Satyakam become a friend with each of these elements. The deadly animal, the lions and tigers, they came forward and they had established friendship with him. They did not kill any of the cows. Rather, the cows were given a freedom in the jungle, and each other element of the forest had supported them. Why? Because at the center, at the core, there was a person with such a strong faith, such a strong faith, undecaying faith he had, Satyaka. So the Vedic civilization has in its core as that faith. But what are the driving forces of this faith? The driving force of this faith is first of all is love for the you know love for the core subject. What was his core subject? He had a dream that he will study under a teacher, and he considered that this teacher, he has got the power. The moment he was given an assignment, he said, sir has given, meaning master has given assignment, so it is possible. As because he is given this assignment, I consider that it is possible. No matter what are the realities around and people talk about the realities, no matter. So the faith is undenying faith, and it's got a love for the teacher at the root of it. So I've got a love and respect for the teacher. This love and respect creates the faith stronger. Strong love, undecaying love, and respect, strong respect, no amount of lesser in that from the full content of it. It's a full faith, full content of love. And this love and faith, it created that kind of Shraddha, that kind of respect for him. Shraddha is a term which is a Rigvedic term. And it's been mentioned, like, when we used to have our Samabharta in the, teaching places, they had a Samabharta. Samavartan, we know in modern parlance, it is known as a convocation. Now, convocation, there was a mantra. Each person had to kind of undertaking. What is the undertaking? Vedam anucha acharya anta vasinam anushanti. Meaning, acharya is now reading out the Veda mantra. Antevasini is the disciple, is the student. He is now, you know, accepting that as a promise in life. So you are qualified from here, you are going to be considered a Brahmagani, you will be accepted in the king's place and in the society as a Brahmagani, a person with the wisdom of God, wisdom of the Supreme, but you need to follow this in your life. What are those? Satyang Badaha, Dharmang Charaha, Sadhayatma Pramadaha. Meaning, you will always be sticking to your truth in your words, thoughts, and actions. Dharmang Charaha, you will always, Dharma is righteous principle. You will always follow the righteous principle in your life. Swadhyatma Pramadaha. Always keep on learning. Self-learning continue in your life. As long as you survive, you continue assimilating the learning in your life from across the entire creation. Acharya priyam dhanam arhitaha. Acharya priyam dhanam arhita. One of the European scholar has given a meaning of this. You collect the money for your teacher. No, it's not that. It's mentioned by Shankaracharya is the correct way. Shankaracharya has mentioned is very correctly saying that what is the wealth that is dear to your acharya? Did your teacher ever ask for any money? Your teacher did never ask for money, so that cannot be prior to him. That cannot be a matter of love for him and to him. So what is that? It is your knowledge. You increase your knowledge, your acharya, your teacher is going to be happier and happier. When you grow in your knowledge, your teacher is going to be happy, more happy. So you continue doing that in your life. Prajatantung ma vyavachad osihi. Prajatantung ma vyavachad osihi. That is the reason why Satyakam, when he was there in a senior stage, he became a senior sage. And then Satyakam had an incident that in his monastery, meaning in his school, the Samavartan, that was one of the Samavartans, one of the convocations, and where the people was there as a disciple, the very strong, meritorious, most meritorious. He was mentioning everybody's name as declared as Brahmagani, Brahmagani, Brahmagani. But his name is not given. People is not given. Then, sage Kamalan came. Kamalan, they were a husband and wife. And Kamalan was a sage. She was a sage of Samvedas. She was, sage of Samvedas, and she was creating this Udgit, meaning a song, Samvedic song. And she came and she protested, saying that he's the most brilliant boy. Why are you not giving him convocation? Satyakam said, no, he cannot be given convocation today. So he was not awarded convocation. So then Upakaushal was actually, his later name was People. He was actually, initially disappointed, very much disappointed, and almost frozen to he sat down and almost going to crack. But uh, then again he understood that there could be some reason behind. Then after everything is over, he had called Kushal saying that I have an assignment for you. He said, sir, I have done all assignments that you have given. Tell me, what is that next assignment? The next assignment is for 12 years only. You have to move around in the societies where human beings and the animals are living. And you have to see their conditions and earn knowledge from their living pattern. So you move across the entire, whatever place in the world you can, come back, and then only I'll declare. Upakushal came back and became the great sage people. He did this, he took it in a positive sense. Then he started moving out, moved out to societies from house to house, village to village, area to area, region to region. And then it was said that Upakoshal had gone to, this crossing rivers and sea, meaning that is actually the region that has been mentioned. It indicates that he went up to Japan, and then he came back, and then he came and joined the monastery after 12 years. When he came back, and the sage was so happy that Upakoshal was awarded the greatest sage of the age. He became the rishi people and the greatest sage of the age, at that period of time. And he had earned the knowledge of all Chaturvedas: Rig, Sam, Yaju, and Atharva. These Chaturvedas have got different, focus. The underlying thought is the same. All Vedas are actually for cultivating wisdom of God, Supreme Brahman, in different ways. Rig Vedas is doing invocation, meaning inviting God to be seated in your life, to join your life's process and to be seated in your life. And some Vedas is when the Supreme comes, Supreme appears in your life. Then what you have to do is you have to have a service given, rendered to that Supreme. So you are giving a service by what? By offering a song, by offering a chanting to the, and that is what is some Vedas. Tat Tvam Asihi, meaning you and me, the Bhakta and Bhagavan, meaning the disciple and the devotee, devotee and God, devotee and God. Like, when Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya from Bengal had gone to Puri, Jagannath Dham. Mahaprabhu যখন in Bengali it's to be mentioned, শ্রী চৈতন্য যখন জগন্নাথ ধামে গেলেন, জগন্নাথ ধামে গিয়ে উনি যখন প্রথম জগন্নাথ দেবের দর্শনের জন্য প্রথম ভেতরে গেলেন, তা প্রথম ইট ওয়াজ ওনার প্রথম যে ভিউজটা হলো যে জগন্নাথ দেবকে উনি দীর্ঘদিন যেন দেখেননি, তাই আজকে দেখে অত্যন্ত আনন্দে তিনি আত্মহারা হয়ে গেলেন। সেখানে জগন্নাথ দেবের উনি কীর্তন শুরু করলেন, অর্থাৎ জগন্নাথ কীর্তন। উনি ওই জগন্নাথ স্বামী নয়ন পথগামী ভব তুমি, he started chanting in the name of Lord Jagannath when he was there in Puri in Odisha, is a eastern province in India, where he went inside. Chaitanya is a Vaishnavic guru, Vaishnavic leader of medieval period, and he has a large follower. One of many of his following institutions are now globally present, and this Krishna consciousness is one of those. And he has contributed to the thoughts of the divinity in the form of devotional way, in the devotional way, bhakti it is called. So the devotional way is always associated with some chanting and mantras inside, and you need to have a God in the form, God in the form. And Jagannath has a form where he is not moving, he is not having hands and legs apparently, but he is having everything, and he is the guiding principle and the guiding in the personality, representation of the God, the Supreme in the world. So that way, it was mentioned that way, like, that was one of the points, that you need to have an understanding of the human being. Prajatantung ma bhavoshed osihi. Then it's mentioned in the, convocation, Satyat na pramoditabhyam, meaning never leave aside truth. Whatever be the situation, don't give up truth. Then dharmyat na pramoditabhyam, never leave aside your, righteousness. That's what Lord Sri Krishna has mentioned also to Arjuna. Sadharme nidhanang shreyo paro dharmo bhayavaho. Meaning, if you find that your death is imminent, to remain in your own religion, in your own principle centric attributes, you do that instead of changing your religion. Then kushalat na pramoditabhyam, meaning always think of well-being of others. You never give up the concept of well-being for others. And then it was mentioned, Vrittui na pramoditavyam, sadhai pravachanabhyam na pramoditavyam. Meaning always stick to your own, principle of learning and never consider any work as inferior to the other work. So all works have got the same identity and same merit and same like a kind of prospect and respect. So consider that. So these were the undertakings a person need to have when the person was actually graduating from a school. Then the sages have come to a conclusion. Tataha parang brahma parang brihantam yatha nikayam sarva bhuteshu gurham vishasya ekam pariveshtitaram isham twang gyatvaha amrita bhavanti. Gurham is, is the cave of the heart. He is present in the Atma in the form of Atman inside the cave of the heart, meaning Lord is present in an invisible, minuscule form, in an infinitesimally small form, is a kind of formless form within a system, within the life, inside the cave of the heart. And his presence is there. If you have understood that he is present there, then recon to that you recognize him and you retrieve to him and you retrieve to his guidance. And his guidance in life is a life lived, a divine life on earth. That's what has been, the conclusive point of the Vedic civilization. The civilization that we are actually maintaining right now, that civilization is apart from this. Its civilization considers that individualism is the greatest, individual satisfaction is the greatest. Every person is now running after individual satisfaction, and the points of satisfactions are mostly and all or almost all the material satisfactions of life, like money, establishment. Like the scholars have designated as a needing animal. Human being has been designated as a leading animal by some psychologists, psychosocial scholars. And there is a pyramid of need constructed also. This is a kind of depiction of human being and an insult to a human potent, and that insult has been endured and accepted by most of the elite people in the world. But this is wrong. This has to be changed. The Vedic civilization says that every human person is divine in content and potent. God himself is present in every life, a life lived across truth and satyang vadishwami, rithang vadishwami, meaning vadishwami is not only speaking but also maintaining. So you speak the truth and you maintain truth. And Rita is translating the elements of truth into actions of life. So whatever you do, you maintain the truthful, position in that. So Satya and Rita, these two, if you maintain that, your life becomes a holy life, a life which is non-killer to others, apart from your standard of, as I mentioned in the beginning, that you have to survive based on the retrieving the other, or in exchange of the other potentials. One potential regains, the other potentials are lost. This is the system of this universe. But you do that in a minimum scale, so that you can maintain a balance in the society, in the world. And that maintaining balance is what the world needs now. And the conditions of environment, the conditions of things apart, the conditions of human society everywhere, all this can be made good if we have the bow of taking up this in life. So Vedic civilization, or the spirit of Vedic living, is a superior spirit than what has been there followed by the people in the world. So-called scientific civilization has promulgated and has advocated for the kind of rationality that we have right now. That rationality is a impersonal rationality. We do respect that, but that rationality is short-lived, and it's actually myopic, because it does not consider the inner realities of human being. The inner reality of human being says that the God is residing within, and every person on earth, everybody on earth has got the potential to grow into a divine soul and self. And let us hope for that. With this hope for that, we are closing today. Om Satchidananda Parabrahma Sanatanam. O the Lord, be graceful to those who are in favor of truth and Ritam. We shall now do the chanting. Please join. আমরা এখন বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করব, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করুন। ॐ वाग्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनः मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठिता
Om
ॐ
Vagme Manosi Pratita Mano Meva Me Vachi Tishti Abhihi Abhihi Medhi
Vedasyamani saha shrutang me ma prahasiha
Vedasya Mani Sahasrutam Me Ma Prahasiha
Ani nodite no ahoratran sangdadami
Nino Horatram Sangadhami
Vitang Vadishwami Satyang Vadishwami
Ritam Badiswami Satyam Badiswami
Amabatu Tadvaktaramabatu
Tatmangavatu Tadvaktaramavatu
Abatu Mam Abatu Bhaktaram Abatu Bhaktaram
Avatu Mam Avatu Bhaktaram Avatu Bhaktaram
Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Payantu mamangani bak prana chakshuhu
Om Apayantu Mamangani Vakpanachu
Putramatha balam indiyani cha sarvani
Pramataha Balam Indiyani Sarvani
Sarvyang Brahma Upanishadam
Brahma Upanishadam
Brahma Nirakuriyat Mama Brahma Nirakaro
Maham Brahmani Dakuriyat Mama Brahmani Dakaro
Nirakarnamastu Nirakarnamyastu
Nirakaramastu Niramayostu
Namaste Moi Santo Te Moi Santo
Dharma Moi Santu Moi Santu
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Purnamadaha Purnamidang Purnat Purnamudachyate
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सहनो भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु
अवीर्यं करवावहै
सह वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो धीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शाङ्नो मित्रः शाङ्वरुणः शाङ्नो भवति हरिओमः
ॐ शं मित्रः शं वरुणः शं भवति हरिओमः
शाङ्नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शाङ्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमः देवायु
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो देवाय
इव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मसि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मोऽसि
त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तद्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
तन्मामवतु तदानवतु
अवतु मामवतु वक्तारम्
अवतु मामवतु वक्तारम्
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः देवा
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वां देवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षवीययोत्रः
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षवीययोत्रः
तुष्टुवांशतनोभिः
श्रीरयङ्गैषवां सुतनोभिः
गीतं यतायुः
बहुहितं यदायु
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
We should not do a 2 minutes meditation. এখন 2 minutes ধ্যান করবো সবাই. Meditation now. জয় মা, জয় মা, জয় মা। We're now closing today. আজকে আমরা এখানে শেষ করছি। আমরা আবার ইন্ডিয়ান স্ট্যান্ডার্ড টাইম 5:30 আগামী রবিবার বিকেল 5:30 মিলিত হব। Meanwhile সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। Wish you all the best. Wish you all the best. All the best. All the best. ভালো থাকবেন।